Hello, and welcome to this episode of Natter with Niamh. And today I have the wonderful Sushmita Jain, who is a launch strategist and runs an outsourcing agency with me. Sush lives in India somewhere, I can't
I
remember,
live, yeah, Mumbai,
in
India, the
Mumbai
city
in
of
India.
Bollywood.
So she's on the other side of the world to me, which is really, really exciting. I love that. And Sush and I met through a community that we both belong to. Um, it was for business, but seems to have turned into quite a social little community as well. And one of the reasons I actually invited Sush onto the podcast because Sush shared something about journaling a while ago that I absolutely loved. And those of you who know me will know that journaling is one of my little passions, and it's something I've done for a long time. And I just loved the way Sush spoke about journaling and how she uses her journal. So we're going to talk about Sush's journey into journaling and what happened for her with that. Hello, Sush.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me here because I feel like I'm someone who is a newbie when it comes to journaling. So sharing that as an experience is very, very personal because to be honest, I've tried journaling a lot many times in my life, but sometimes we say, right, until we're not ready, it just doesn't click. And now that even resonates to another deeper level to me because I've tried journaling a lot many times in my life, and somehow I felt like it was not something it was working for me. And I think it was more because I was trying to follow someone else's rules. We find so much on social media or on stuff like YouTube that how to journal, how to get started with journaling. And there's literally an entire niche when it comes to pretty journaling, art journaling, and so on and so forth. And I used to maybe somehow, even though I never realized it, subconsciously try and compare my stuff, even though it's so personal. Like I shouldn't do that. And I would compare mine with them, like how my journal looks. Maybe it's not that pretty, maybe I'm not that organized, whereas I am like the most organized person when it comes to actually doing things in a certain way. But still there's this like we being our worst critic. But then this year, like I was like, okay, I'm gonna go into this year with an intention to just connect with myself, to connect with my emotions, and just be me. So, like, my journal would rather be my creative space where I'm just opening my heart and no pressure, no rules, nothing. And it has been like, it's 30th April today when we are recording this, and I have been consistent every single day, which is like a big thing for me. And it's not just that I'll be like, okay, I'm starting my day with journaling or ending my day with journaling. But even in between the day, if I feel like something needs to go in there, I will get that written. So there are no rules. I'm just being me being a manifesting generator, I'm just making my own rules. I'm just testing what works for me and having fun with it. So yeah.
I mean, I love your reference to human design there. For those of you who don't know about that, there's five different energy types. Sush is a manifesting generator. I'm actually a self-projected projector. And I mean, unlike you, I don't see any rules around journaling. And that's one thing that, when I was first started journaling, I wasn't told how to journal. I was seeing a counselor and she told me that maybe journaling would help me. And I've told this story before, but I started journaling and I was just writing every day. And I was kind of it was an outpouring of my emotions. Actually, what it really was the diatribe of self-hatred. And I got to a point where I was just so frustrated when I was writing. It was like throwing crap at a fan and it was just blowing back at me. Um, and I was just getting so frustrated. I picked up my journal one morning and I used to journal. I used to drop the kids off to school and I'd come home and then I'd have an hour to journal before I got on with the rest of my day. And one morning I was just sat there and I was just so frustrated. I thought, nothing is changing. I just keep writing the same stuff over and over again. And I literally went to throw the journal across the room when a prompt popped into my head. And that prompt was, what do I need today? And then I wrote about that. And it was first, I needed it to feel safe emotionally. I needed an emotional outlet. And the next prompt that popped in was, how can I provide that for myself? Well, duh, your journal. Because what I wasn't really doing was, I wasn't really expressing my emotions as such. It's difficult to
Yeah.
explain because what I was writing was what was in here and not in my heart. I was allowing my head
I
to lead.
have, like while you're saying this, I literally have like, those tinkling sensations because oh my God, I can resonate with that on yeah, that's totally be like I think okay, now I can actually put words to what I have felt because you've said it as well. Because there was quite some time when I would also feel that I'm just writing the same damn thing every single day, and it is
Yeah,
like, why just I keep writing the same thing? I am doing things, there's progress, I'm working on my stuff, and initially it is more often, like, why am I feeling this way kind of a thing, like even with journaling, like, with writing stuff and everything. But then now it makes so much sense because, yeah, I was just writing it from here. It was not actually that I was connecting with, like the depth of those emotions or what I was feeling. And it was just like, okay, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, and da 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 da. Whereas it could have been much more. But now, once we actually took those rules out, and earlier I used to actually go on Pinterest and be like, oh, what should be the journal prompts to start your day with, to end your day with, and all of those kind of things. I tried them but it did not kind of work.
yeah,
Now it's more like, okay, I'm starting my day, but it's more like what's on my mind right now or what am I feeling right now. And then at the end of the day, it is more like, okay, just reflections of the day and then going deeper on what comes up. That's the kind of style I'm more, like leaning towards.
yeah. I mean, for me, I mean, it was that prompt that kind of started my, real journey into journaling. And then I just started getting prompts intuitively, kind of like I would get, I mean, maybe not every day, but I would get a prompt and then I,
Yeah.
I would write about that. And then I'd get 4 or 5 more questions. And the questions just seemed to pop into my head. I have actually shared them in a book I've written called 52 Weeks to a Happier You, where I've shared
Oh,
52 of the prompts that helped me come out of that really depressive, anxious state to somebody who could actually step out the front door again and live their life. Um, and it was hard work, but it was through my journal that I began to recognize actually who I really was because I'd lost a real sense of myself. And
yeah.
like I was so caught up as well in the journal being perfect. Because I'm a teacher, and I was caught up and it has to be grammatically correct. I couldn't spell things, and I still actually I write in pencil a lot because then I can rub out the incorrect spellings later. But so I still haven't quite lost that. But a lot of it, I mean, I'm not artistic, so mine were never art journals. They've always just been writing. But I used to want them to look neat.
Yeah.
And when you're just writing from your heart and it's flowing, sometimes it just looks like a scribble or your words are joined together. There's no proper sentence structure, is there? So
Yep.
it's letting go of all that.
Which is very
Mhm.
difficult, but
Yeah,
once we start realizing that, it's slowly just every single day, the more we keep up with it, the more easier it becomes. Because I remember once I messaging one of my friend and being like I saw one of the video on Instagram and I'm like, my journal doesn't look like hers, hers is so pretty. And she's
yeah,
like, are you journaling because you want to connect with yourself or do you want to actually create pretty stuff? You could do art for that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, because it was literally like, she
yeah,
just putting a mirror in front of me and being like, what are you doing? Why are you comparing? Why are you thinking it should be pretty? And then since then, I've rather chosen to it being what it is. I mean, we don't have to actually put our journals on display, right? Anywhere. They're
No,
just
no.
for us. We
Yeah.
just have to come back to it every single day. And then now I look at it and my perspective has changed. I see words which rather make sense to me.
Mm.
And it helps me every single day. Like it helps me with my work. It helps me with what I'm feeling, how I'm feeling when it comes to my personal stuff or what I'm going through in life, or even this journey, where, like my son is growing, he's 2 years old, but I still feel like a new mom. There's always this
Yeah.
something new that I have to
Oh,
learn
believe
or
me, that never
understand.
goes away. And my youngest is 24.
Okay. That's that's very good to know because I'm like, oh my God, why do I feel like a new mom? He's like 2 years old now. And I'm like, that takes the pressure off as well. So thank you for letting me know that.
Yeah, I mean, the journaling, and this, I think what a lot of people don't understand is it's a very personal experience, and it's your experience. It's you in that journal. And we get so caught up in comparing ourselves to everybody else, don't we? And
Yep.
also, like if we look at social media, and if you look at all these perfect journals on Pinterest or Instagram or whatever, are they really going to show the messy, mucky, horrible stuff? No, they're not.
I'm sure they have those, scribbles, they
Yeah,
have those, them testing out the actual spread they are showing in the video. But yeah, that's not actually
yeah,
going to be short, is it? Or,
yeah,
I mean, I love, like just like journaling, I love those cozy, desk videos and all of those kind of videos as well. But like the harsh truth is, every single week I clean my desk, but like by the end of the week it's a like literally it's a fucking mess, and that's the other reality. We can't
yeah,
deny from that, we can't say
yeah,
no to it, and that's exactly how our I think our life in journal is. We are going to clear the clutter, we're gonna actually just test things out, but yeah, it's okay, it's always gonna feel messy in some way, but yeah, we are working on things. It can't be perfect. Like picture perfect, Pinterest perfect, Instagram perfect. That in reality does not exist. I
yeah.
actually saw once someone's post they did, and she is like desk and all of those cozy vibe video creator, and
Mm.
she's like, every single time I shoot a video with me sharing my desk, I actually have to clean my desk before actually shooting that video. So that's not the reality, guys. You're just loving it, but that's
Yeah,
not the reality. And I'm like, I'm glad she said that because people need to, keep saying that, because otherwise it's just, like very easy for people to be like, oh my God, this is so perfect. Her setup looks
yeah,
amazing. And it's not always that way.
yeah. And I think for me, one of the main things with the journaling was accept not just was accepting myself and accepting the messy and accepting the things that weren't, you know, I suppose going to plan in my life, weren't going the way I wanted to. And actually being able to be honest with myself about that. I mean, when we're journaling, it comes down, and that's something that I think a lot of people find really hard, is that radical honesty that you have to have. And I think that's why journaling is so difficult sometimes, because we don't
Yep.
want that honesty with ourselves, do we?
Yep. It's That's the hardest part to be. I mean, honesty, when it comes to being honest with ourselves, in somewhere, subconsciously we might know, but actually owning it and then living through it is the most difficult part, because we'll be like, we'll try the like we'll try and find the answers externally, but the answers are actually an internal one. And yeah, that changes once we realize that changes so many things, how we feel, how we process things, how we actually like even reflect back on other people as well, because then the conversations change, our mood changes, and all of those kind of things as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I kind of yeah, that honesty. But how did that happen for you? Because you said at the at the beginning that you were at first, your journaling was just you didn't think you could do it. It wasn't great. And then you said you made a commitment to do it every day. What changed, do you think? Was it just that commitment, or was there something else that actually changed for you?
I think it was me opening up to actually try things out, you know? It will, because even if I commit and if I just write the same single thing every single day, it's still gonna piss me off. Like, you know, I'm not going to be happy about it. But when I actually started shredding the different layers and, connecting with the inner, deeper layers of myself, that's actually when things started becoming easier. So, like, when I actually started, like, the right word would be when I actually started questions to myself, you know, it was
Yeah,
me having a conversation with myself with no pressure, but me just trying to connect with what is it that I want to have a conversation with myself about today. So I think, and then it slowly started to help me, like silence the noises in my head, kind of thing. It
yeah,
sounds creepy, but it once you understand it because there's so many thoughts. But which exact thought do you want to focus on today? Or which exact thought, why has it been coming every single day in your mind? Why are you feeling this way? Why are you thinking about it? Why do you keep coming back to it? And then trying to uncover those layers, it's just liberating. Either it's going to
yeah,
help you process something or it's going to help you understand how you think, why you think that way, how you can utilize it actually for something good and better versus that, you know, freaking you out or making things hard on yourself and all of those kind of things. And like we say that, um, like journal is actually, or journaling is actually about, like we said, we just taking the pressure off because everything has so much pressure. Like social media was just made for people to be social, but it's not actually social media anymore. It's
yeah,
just in there are people who are using it to actually be social, but then there are also those people who are just using it for business. So there's the difference
yeah,
between that. Similarly, like I use journaling for my work, I use journaling for, like I said, about other aspects of my life as well. But if I just use it for my work and business, it's not going to make the difference it did make for me. So
mm,
until and unless we don't open up all of those possibilities for ourselves, yeah, it's we just caging ourselves in a box, isn't it?
yeah. And I love what you said about a conversation with yourself. And I'm guessing now, looking back to when I was receiving those in prompts intuitively, I guess that was my inner wisdom opening up that conversation for myself because
Yep.
my brain wasn't allowing me to do that at that time because my brain was caught in that trap of, I can't do this, I'm useless, I feel so depressed, I blah blah blah. And so by actually my inner wisdom giving me those prompts, it allowed me to open up that deeper dialogue with
Yeah.
myself. But what I would also like to point out is, picking up on something else you said, is that, a lot of people have this, I get asked all the time or told all the time, I think I'm doing this wrong. I can't seem to get it. What am I doing wrong with journaling? Or how do I journal properly? There is no right or wrong with journaling. It's a very, very
Yep.
personal experience. And as you said, sometimes it just takes a while to click. It took a couple of years for it to click with me. It was only when I
Yeah.
started
Same here.
receiving those prompts that
Yep.
it actually seemed like
I
I was
mean,
achieving something.
look at few people, for me, and I think it would be the same for you. A blank notebook is what's actually going to help us just explore and be ourselves. But for some others, it is actually proper journals with questions and prompts, which is going to help them to actually be consistent with the habit. And again, there's no right or wrong, but it's rather what works for you and how do you want to do it. Because, like, right now that we are finding and connecting with ourselves, it makes, like, it makes it easier for us to have that inner dialogue. But there's a chance that someone is finding it very difficult to understand what they should write about today. So those questions and prompts, which are already in the journal they are filling every day, is just taking the pressure off for them. And it makes it easier that,
Yeah.
okay, I have this question there. I'm just going to answer it, even though however deep I need to answer that. And then I'll come back to the next one tomorrow. So again, it's we making our own rules. It's our life after all, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's we choosing to make that commitment, and it's we who is trying to build a certain habit which is going to help us in some way or the other. And even if I just look at my own journal over past these few months, you know it has so much wisdom in it. Sometimes even like journaling has not just helped me come back to what I feel or how I feel, but we have so many thoughts every single day. And it's so difficult to actually keep, like, imagine we're trying to remember every single thing we think about, right?
Mm.
But if we write those few things, or at least the majority of those things, which, whenever that thought comes in our mind and we be like, oh my God, I need to make sure that this is noted down somewhere. Now, when we note
Yeah.
that down, we just can go back to it, and we can connect with what we are feeling, why we are feeling. We can also see how far we have come from where we started until where we are now in the journey, and all of those things. So amazing, like, just love that now when it comes to journaling as well.
Yeah. And as you said, I mean, for some people, it is the prompts. And actually, you can use your own prompts. But for some people,
Yep.
what I start a lot of people off on is gratitude journaling. And it's something I still do every night before I go to bed. And I don't always journal every day now. Some days it just slips. And I
Yep.
don't beat myself up for that anymore either, because I know
So important.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
know I have a
important.
practice that works for me.
Yep.
Um, but every single night before I go to bed, I write down 5 things I'm grateful for that day. And there are days where I'm sitting there thinking, oh, and some days it can be just a really good cup of coffee, or it didn't rain today, or the cat sat on my knee. It doesn't have to be huge things, we just have to start small. And I think it's the same with those bigger conversations in our journal. Like if a thought comes into your head,
Yep.
it's getting curious. So you have a particular thought. Oh, why have I write it down and then come back and why did I have that thought? What's going on here? That's not like me at all. Or I
Yep.
have that thought all the time. Why do I keep having this thought? And it's that curiosity, it's that playfulness I think we need to bring into it as well.
Yep, love that, because yeah, that is what it is, all about. And it's also like, so for example, sometimes, like you said, and so important that if a certain day, or even if for few days, we kinda are not consistent with it, we don't have to beat ourselves. You just have to be like, okay, fine, few days
Mm.
went by, you did not come back to it, but you're choosing to come back to it now,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what matters. It's just like, going to gym or working out. It's okay if for maybe we are traveling and we did not go to the gym for a few days, but once you're back from your travels, now you're choosing to either go, or you're be just beating yourself for not going for all those few days when you were actually enjoying, still exploring, having fun, and make things complicated. Like, I see so
Yeah.
many people be like, "Oh my God, I was traveling and I did not journal, and that's not good." And I'm like, no. Now you're back. Just, write the
Yeah.
reflections from how your journey was, what it felt like, and start from there. You know, it's not the end of the world that you
Yeah.
did not put your pen and write anything in your journal for a few days. That's totally acceptable.
Yes, absolutely. And it's keeping it. I mean, I know sometimes we can get quite emotional and quite deep in our journals, and it can bring up quite a lot of stuff, but also we have to have that layer of kind of, I mean, a lot of people use creativity and they draw in their journals and they, some people do all this bullet journaling stuff. That's not me. I just like, lined paper and I write and that's it. Um, but it's keeping, it's really that openness, that curiosity, that playful, and some playfulness in there as well. And often,
Yep.
if I said, I get people saying, I don't know what to write. I said, well, write that. Write that.
Yes. Why don't you know what to write? Like what is holding you back from writing? Or what kind of gates you have from yourself, or what are the kind of banners you have or barriers you have which are holding you from actually opening up? Even that's something to explore. And
Yeah.
like, so my journal, it's just like based on who I am or how I'm feeling, the journal will look like. So I have stickers. So on the days when I feel I want to use a sticker, I will actually use a sticker. On the days when I feel I want to doodle, I will just pick my pen, draw something, whatever I feel like, and that's how it's gonna look like. Or some days I'm just using markers and the sketch pens to make it creative. So it's just random and just me being me versus it having a common theme across
Yeah.
the whole journal, because that's how life is. It's not linear, right? it's
Yeah.
it's messy. It's just things happening in life. Sometimes they're in our control, sometimes it's just we responding and reflecting to it, and sometimes it's just we just trying to find what is happening and making sense out of it. So whatever it is, it is.
Absolutely, yes. And we come back to right to the beginning of our chat where we said it's about accepting.
Yep.
It's about looking at and accepting ourselves. And for me, that was, for a long time, that was really difficult. I'd lost a real sense of who I was,
Yep.
and accepting that to start with. Okay,
Yeah, like I, when I started this year, there was a lot of overwhelm. And I'm not saying that my overwhelm has disappeared, but at least now I know how to process it, or how to, work through things. Because like you said, if I'm thinking I don't know what to write, then I'm like, why don't I know what to write? Or is there so many things on my mind that I want to write about, that now I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I supposed to write the first about? So all of
yeah.
those kind of things.
I think sometimes in that way, if you've got several things to write about, you could just maybe do bullet points, write about
Yeah.
one, and then come back later. But also, I think sometimes there's a fear there. There's a really deep fear of getting to know our inner selves. And for me, like with the depression and the anxiety and stuff, I realized I had a really deep well of, I wouldn't even call it anger, rage, pure, unadulterated rage that I was so scared of letting out because I had to keep it tamped down because I was scared that if I let it out, I was going to hurt somebody else. And then it was through my journaling that I realized actually that holding on to that was creating the depression and the anxiety. And that I know because I know who I am and I know myself, I was not going
Yeah.
to physically hurt anybody else. I wasn't going to go and take a dagger and stab people because that's not who I am. Even though sometimes my rage would tell me that's what I felt like. So finding a
Yeah.
safe way in my journal to actually express that rage. And a lot of it
Yep.
came down to self-hatred for sticking at a relationship that wasn't working for so very long. Um,
I mean, when once we start actually going deeper, we can literally track our own patterns when it comes to, because then we are starting to make notes of these patterns, that and we might not initially realize these are patterns, but we are just randomly writing things that we are feeling, or we, kind of are realizing, and then we start finding those
Mm.
patterns. But it helps us
Yeah.
even with the awareness in the first
Yes.
place. And until and unless we're not aware, we can't work on it. So that's
Mm.
something which only will happen once we actually choose to look into those deeper layers.
Yeah. And even though, you know, as you said, we have so many thoughts a day, and we often have the same thoughts every day, even the same thought 5 or 6 times or more a day. We're not always fully aware of our thinking, are we? We engage with
Yep,
our thinking and we allow it to run away with us, but we're not actually aware of, oh, there's that thought, I've had that thought. You know, why am I keep getting that? And that's what our journal allows us to do. And I do say to people, because I mean, I have some journals that, you know, I can't read back. And when I was writing them, I never read them back. I wrote and let go because they were just too painful. But I've said to other, you know, I've had people, oh, you know, they read it back and they get all up in their, you know, they get all self-critical. And I said, don't read it back, just write, close it.
yeah,
It's done. You've let it out. Go and do something else. If you want to come back to it in a year's time and read it, that's fine. Some people like to read back, but I think if you're going through the really heavy stuff, sometimes it's
yeah,
better to just get it out. Like when you go to
yep,
see a therapist and you talk about something, you quite often don't start rehash the same thing over and over again with the therapist. You move
yeah,
on because you're setting goals
yep,
here. And we can treat our journal in the same way. We can, but again, you can be aware of the patterns even if you're not reading it back because you're still aware
yeah,
of, yeah, I wrote that yes. Oh, I wrote that yesterday. Oh, I
yep,
think I've been writing about this for a week. Ooh, I wonder.
yep. Exactly. It's not a compulsion to actually read it. And
Yeah,
if maybe we don't want to go and read all of it, sometimes what I do and what works for me, obviously, it's not a rule. You try it. If it works, you don't try it. If you don't feel it's working. But
yeah,
what I try is if I'm feeling something or if there's some thought which I feel I would want me to have a look at in the coming time in my journal, I will just highlight that text with an highlighter, you know?
yeah,
So maybe it's something I'm celebrating. Maybe it is something that I'm happy about. Maybe it is something that actually gave me a lesson. Whatever it is, it's not an happy moment always, or it's not a sad or a triggering moment or anything. It can be anything, but I'll just highlight it. So if and when I'm just flipping through my journal, not even reading it, I look at it and it's just a reminder for myself.
yeah,
Nothing fancy,
yeah.
but something that kind of works for me.
I mean, I do something similar. I mean, I don't use highlighters, but what I will sometimes do is underline something and put an arrow down to the bottom of the page and go deeper on this, you know. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So
or
we all have our
yeah,
ways, like
yeah,
I obviously started when I started doing all of this. I've been testing. That's the reason why I have stickers, markers, and, all of those kind of things. So I'm just testing what works for me. And initially I purchased, those fluorescent markers, which literally, they're the exact point for them is to just be very noticeable right the moment you mark something. But then
yeah,
I was like, okay, I want some, like those, what do we call them? Cozy vibe kind of colors. So I
yeah,
actually genuinely did go and try and find markers which were cute, cozy colors, and I found few of them, and now I'm using those. So it's not
yeah,
perfect, and like I said,
yeah,
it's not exactly the way it started months ago,
mm,
but we're trying, we're testing, and again,
yeah.
I'm an MG, I am a 3-5 MG. My entire point is to try, test, experiment.
I'm a 3-5 as well.
See? So we are here for experimentation and we're just, living our design.
Yeah. But I mean, I am just a pen and paper girl. I'm not the kind of, you know, I mean, my creativity comes through words. I write poetry and short stories and things. So that's where, you know, but again, that's another
I
emotional outlet
haven't,
for me.
I love poetry, but just like journaling, maybe I will someday write it, but I feel I'm not that skilled to actually write poetry. I love writing as well. So that's the reason why I am trying, different outlets as to what works for me for writing as well, especially
Yeah.
like so like I I have my business, so I do write a lot what is related to my business, but I wanted a creative outlet to actually write about other things or about what I'm feeling or
Yeah.
how my feelings would actually be expressed in a certain way, which maybe I haven't yet. And that's the reason why I started writing on Substack. And it's like obviously I don't have any following there, to be very honest. Like I slowly kind of have, and I don't know, yesterday I was on 18 people who have subscribed, but what's the point is just being there and trying it out. And every single platform, we start from zero, right? We're not
Yeah.
going to start with hundreds and thousands of followers, but and I'm already like, there's so many great writers there. I'm reading their stuff there, and it's like, oh my God, like just, just
Don't
this.
get into comparison here.
Oh no, not going into comparison, but yeah, sometimes we are
Yeah.
guilty of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, like there's some really amazing people on there. But the point is, and what I wanted to basically say here is that it's a creative outlet, to be very
Mm.
honest, for ourselves. Whatever we use it for, it is ultimately an outlet for us to just express ourselves
Yeah.
and to reconnect with ourselves. As simple as that. Because again, like we said, that we have so many thoughts, we are going through so many things in our life that it's very difficult to actually either connect with it or even just be like, why am I feeling this way? Versus we just penning down those emotions and then trying to understand how we feel it. And again, we don't have to be very critical with ourselves about it, but it actually helps us even understand maybe if there's something we need help with or if there's something we just need to process, and then it's going to help us heal and feel better as well. Because again, that's also very important. It's not that always a lot of work
Mm.
is needed, but sometimes a lot of work is needed, so it's going to differ, and we can work on it slowly,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And also, I mean, the one thing I say to everybody when you're journaling is kindness and compassion to yourself are key. It's not about criticizing
Very.
anything that you've written or anything that's coming up for you or judging yourself for anything. I mean,
Because we're very good at it, you know.
yeah, oh, we are.
We might not be good at writing, but we're very good at judging ourselves.
Yourself.
You know, that's an art we can really pick
Yeah,
up on very easily.
yeah. I mean,
And we actually,
I don't think for
have
journaling
you
that's necessary.
ever,
Sorry.
sorry, I was just gonna say, have you noticed we won't be actually judgmental towards others, but we would be very judgmental towards ourselves. Very
Yeah,
like something that slowly, once again we start getting awareness of, we can change that. But I've noticed that even about myself, like I don't
yeah.
judge others for whatever they do, but I do judge myself a lot, which I'm changing. But yeah,
Yes. I mean, yes. I mean, I've obviously been very self-judgmental and self-critical in the past as well. But I would also say, you don't have to be a writer to be able to journal. And that's, I think a lot of people get caught up in, oh, I can't write, I'm not a writer. And I mentioned, grammar and, you know,
yeah,
that spelling and stuff earlier. That doesn't matter because it's personal to you. It's really about
it's
getting it out.
personal,
Yeah.
and there's no grammar police coming for us. So just just
Yeah.
get it out. As simple as that.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
even
yeah.
even if someone finds it very difficult to like go really deep, start with 10 minutes every single day. Just put the timer on, start with 10 minutes, see what's coming, and slowly, once you start getting the hang of it, you might not even need a timer, you know? I mean, so I have
Yeah.
this pen and paper, like basically I have my notebook and pens and everything now, but I've tried writing, like I have good notes on my iPad, so I've tried that. And because basically I love writing, so I was like,
Yeah.
if I have it digital, I don't actually have to carry a notebook everywhere. But then somehow I feel that the notebook is working best for me at the moment, because that's actually what sparked the realness, the rawness, the connection, the flow to it every single day. So I'm going to stick with that one. But there are moments when I want to maybe even go further deeper into stuff. So either, and again, I'm not actually having any rules for myself. There are days when I've done my journaling, but then I want to go deep on something. So I would just make some notes on my iPad in Good Notes. Or I also have, ironically, on my Notion, an entire section which is called as my journal. And I will, like, if I'm planning and prepping for something, then I'll go on Notion and I'll have those notes there. But if it's just me and my random thoughts and my emotions and I want to go deep on them, I would rather write them down on my iPad in the Good Notes. So again, I'm still, finding different ways to make this work. And there's
Yeah.
again no right or wrong, but yeah, it's working, it's helping me, it's supporting me in some way or the other, and that's ultimately what I am prioritizing on.
Yeah. I mean, I think the pen, there's something about, and there is actually some scientific research behind this. I don't know what it is, but about using a pen and paper and the link between, the actual physical activity and what comes through. So I think I
Yeah,
mean, and I'm definitely a pen and paper person. I mean, obviously, if I'm away, I do use notes. I like to talk to myself as well. So I will do that through voice notes. But as you said, there is no right or wrong way. There's no right or wrong with journaling. It's a very, very personal
yeah.
experience.
I mean, someone listening to this might actually feel, oh my God, she has things spread out on too many different, you know, locations. Like, there's the iPad, there's the Notion, there's the notebook, but I know exactly what I want and where I need to go and find if and when I need to go and find anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean,
it kind of works.
yeah, I have a separate section. Like I use them. OneNote, I think it is. I use.
Mm,
It's so I have it linked from my phone to my computer. And I have a section on there for kind of thoughts around my business or other things that I need to do. So it's not the really deep personal stuff. It's just the kind of
yeah,
things that pop up. Like if you're out for a walk and oh, that's a good idea. I'll have a look at that. Or
yeah,
I get an idea for a meditation or something. Ooh, like I'll jot that down because obviously I don't carry my notebook around with me,
yeah.
because I like to use the A4 notebooks, so they're not exactly convenient. But yeah. Anyway, I think we have talked for quite a long time.
We have.
So thank you. This has been fascinating. I hope the audience finds it just as fascinating. And if anybody has any questions about journaling, please contact me. And Sushi, you happy to be contacted as well?
Yes,
Yes.
happy to be contacted, happy to, like share my thoughts about it. And if there are any specific questions, I can obviously get back and, have
Yeah.
conversations. So all good.
Okay. And I will be sharing Sushi's contact details in the show notes so
Yes,
that any of you who want to connect with her, and also you can connect in the comments and stuff as well. Thank you very much for your time today, Sush. It was been a real
happy
pleasure
to.
talking to
And
you.
thank you for having me here as well. So, yeah.
You're welcome. Goodbye.